There we go. Hey, White Sox fans, South Side Sox Mothership podcast number 44, I believe. Not the circumstances I thought we would be recording our next Mothership podcast, but rather than discussing a White Sox sweep, let's just go ahead and say sweep over Minnesota or strong streak, strong bounce back after a sort of shaky series against the Kansas City Royals this past weekend. Instead, we're going to talk about the unwritten rules, Tony La Russa bullshit. I was hoping to punt this podcast to tomorrow, in fact, so we maybe could discuss a series win, maybe a series sweep, but instead we have to put the emergency flashing lights. We're flashing our sirens now on Tony La Russa. I'm only doing this because I don't think we can avoid addressing the fact that Tony has thrown his rookie of the year contender, Yermín Mercedes, under the bus pregame tonight. Of course, late breaking as we are. Hey, yesterday it was Darren Black seeing Danny Mendick hit a grand slam just as we're going to record. Just before we recorded or started our recording, apparently Duffy threw at Yermín Rocco Baldelli. Apparently his monocle dropped somewhere between last night's game and today, because now he was like, well, I was surprised at what happened. I'm surprised that on 3-0, a major league hitter swung the bat and it went a long way off of my second baseman, my portly second baseman, chucking, literally underhanding the ball to the plate. And Yermín got thrown at, so Baldelli got tossed, the pitcher got tossed, and who knows what's going to happen. Maybe Tony's going to get red ass, and now he's going to hit 3 twins. Who knows? With me, the full Indianapolis field officer, South Side Sox, once again, Super Joseph Reeses, Crystal O'Keefe. Crystal, Billy hopping on the game thread, spitting some venom. I'm liking it. If this is what it takes to get him back, we can talk about this dumbfuckery. If he is going to come back for this, I'm all for it. So anyway, O'Keefe household, heavy into it on South Side Sox tonight. Crystal, thanks for hopping on. Joseph as well. Okay, I've already bleeped myself enough. So talk to me about this nonsense, please.
You got it. Listen, I just want to get this out. If you're gonna fucking preach about unwritten rules, then perhaps you should go through your actual rule book first and not be a stupid idiot. Okay? Unwritten rules, there's a reason they're not written down. If you're playing in the major league, hit the fucking ball. I don't care. Hit it. You can be up 20. Hit the ball. And don't preach about your old time bullshit. I'm done. Like, fire him to the moon.
Let me inject, Joe, before you hop on. Dan Victor, Southside Sox writer, was tweeting earlier about the fact it took him all of a year to go back in the annals of Baseball Reference to find that in 2019, as recent as 2019, the Twins, Jonathan Schoop, hit a home run. I don't think it was on 3-0, so I guess it was legit. Hit a home run off a position player. La Tortuga was probably on the bench. He played about half that year. He could have been on the bench there observing. I'm guessing he was high-fiving Schoop. I'm guessing he wasn't feeling bad for Chris Davis, who was the position player throwing the ball. Again, game out of hand, clearly. So 2 years ago, again, Rocco Baldelli was not the manager. That was, I believe, Paul Molitor in 2019. I'm guessing he's probably old school too. At any rate, just a little bit of reference for all of this nonsense. Super Joseph, give me your thoughts.
There is a lot to digest here, to say the least. And I'm not quite sure where to begin, but I think a good place to start would be one of the comments that really stuck with me today, which was that obviously Mercedes had said, that he was playing his game, and then La Russa said that no, he wasn't. He's playing the game of Major League Baseball, as though like in Major League Baseball, you're not supposed to be trying your hardest in certain situations. Like this unwritten rule seems to be just like imposing unnecessary constraints on players. And especially in the case of Mercedes, where he's going to go to arbitration and he's going to get paid for his stats. And if he's going to have an opportunity to drive a ball against someone who's not paid to pitch, it would be foolish on his end to not take that opportunity, especially when, in his case, there's money potentially involved here. And it was, I imagine, a big slap in the face to Mercedes to have his manager not stand up for him in this way. And yeah, certainly a very bad way for La Russa to quiet the critics that he's had early on in this season.
Yeah, it's been 6 weeks that Tony, I guess more, I guess longer if we count spring training, 6 weeks that Tony is held to what he said. And listen, I gave compliments probably on this podcast when he came out and made it very clear. I'm going to respect the culture. I'm the new guy here. This clubhouse is strong. I'm going to sort of fit in. Well, it took him 6 weeks before he decided to just set the fucking thing on fire. And it's really unfortunate because I think, as you're alluding here, Joe, and maybe Crystal as well, he didn't have to say what he said. Obviously, he's got to say something, especially because everybody is just drooling to find out what old school is going to say about new school. I get it. But, and in not saying something, sure, he's saying something. If Tony comes out and says, hey, listen, we handled this internally. Hey, we talked. Hey, it's fine, but we talked. It's fine. You know, and then we can speculate. And sure, yahoos like me are still going to get on a podcast and freak out and yell at him. Maybe he runs that risk. Sure. But he did far from that. He very clearly said, Joe, as you just said, he's playing Major League Baseball. Oh, for God's sake, are you kidding me? They're the best team in baseball. They're 25-15. They're going to run away with this division. Because this division sucks. And this is what we're talking about. This is what we're forced to talk about. And I'm sorry, you can say this is some kind of like clickbait podcast. Oh, bullshit. We got to talk about this. And it is extremely frustrating that we end up talking about Tony La Russa being an angry grandpa and throwing the one light on this team, the one rookie light on this team under the bus. An unforced error. Again, so many unforced errors, by the way, Tony, this year. This is one you're not even going to get a pass on. Not that we've given you a pass on the fact that you don't know how long you have to challenge on a replay, or whether you got to throw you have to put your $8 million closer on second base in extra innings. This is something that you could have made a choice on. I think, as Chris will point out right off, the unwritten rules, for God's sake. Enforce them internally if you have to. Just shut the hell up. Talking to the head of, I'm going to paraphrase him, Twinkie Town, the SBN White Sox site. I had asked him earlier if Tortuga, I'm not even going to pretend that, listen, the dude's great, whatever. I think was a little hyped in the past, but whatever. I guess Yermín is now too. And I want to clear it with him. Hey, did he have anything to say? And I know these days with the locker room situation, not everybody talks, and I'm guessing Tortuga wasn't maybe on the Zoom post game. I don't know, but somebody didn't get to sneak up on him and say, "Hey, talk to me." And then you get this, this down low stuff that ends up blowing up, right? So we don't know what he said. Apparently, he was top stepping the White Sox and whining or crying or spitting. I don't exactly know what he was doing. I guess he was spitting a little venom. But anyways, TJ, the guy who runs Twinkie Town, said, yeah, I don't think there was really anything, official, whatever. But then, later on today, he added to me, all that's left, paraphrasing, all that's left in this season for me to look forward to is seeing Tony La Russa set the White Sox on fire. And of course, my response was, TJ, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. And I hate saying that because this is a team that has enormous potential. And I just feel like somehow this management, and I'm sorry, we're going to have to throw more people than just Tony under the bus, the people who hired him and the people who are probably continuing to apologize for him under the bus here. And that, yeah, it seems inevitable that something is going to go wrong. And that's not just the White Sox fan in me, because I don't really buy into that lovable loser bullshit that people say, oh, we're White Sox fans, we're used to it. Yeah, this last decade has sucked, no doubt. This last decade has not been what a White Sox fan is and what following this team is. This is a uniquely ugly stretch. And now this is the goddamn payoff we get. Even as the team is awesome, we have to be moaning and belly aching and worrying about what's next, even with what remains in this game. What is going to happen next? Who's Tony going to bark at next? All right, I've spoken enough, guys. Save me before I'm kicked off of this podcast.
so irritating. We obviously have to remember that of all people, Jerry's the supervillain. Jerry's letting this happen. Jerry does not care, because at the end of the day, we're still giving him money because they're first. I mean, they're doing incredible. We're going to still pay money because we've missed baseball so much. So why does he care what's happening? You know, at a little bit lower level. He's going to stick up for his friend, and his friend's going to continue to just not stick up for the team. I mean, I would take Rocco getting kicked out to be on my side instead of, you know, Tony just completely throwing his star player under the bus. I can't process how insane that is and how destructive he's been. And it's going to boil down to everybody. I mean, Evan Marshall was liking pro Yermín tweets on Twitter. Tim Anderson was on Instagram, you know, saying the game wasn't over, keep doing it. Like, he's just going to divide it more. And if Adam Eaton happened to be saying anything last night in that dugout to Yermín, he's just going to continue to make sure it implodes, just like he did in 2016. Like, they have too many people that just don't stand up for one another. And even if it's just two, that's too many. If you have two people in there dividing that clubhouse, it's going to implode before we make it to the World Series.
Yeah, we couldn't have predicted this, Crystal. We couldn't have predicted that those would be the two people. All right, hey, let me hop in. Here's a thought I had. Has anybody asked Rocco Baldelli what he had to say to Josh Donaldson for pimping a freaking home run when he's down 12 runs? Okay, he didn't pimp it badly, but he stood there and watched it. He's down 10 runs. What's the goddamn unwritten rule about that? What did he have to say about his player? He's a white player, so maybe he didn't get reprimanded by the white manager.
Well, and I mean, this goes back to that one game in Boston where Yermín was pitching.
There was the one where Tony gave up on the game too early?
There was no drama there. People could hit off of him and there would have been no drama. Like, nobody cared. So why does it matter so much? The White Sox are getting shelled. Nobody cares. But heaven forbid another team is getting shelled and suddenly, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world for Tony.
Yeah, and people are bringing in this notion that, hey, you know, this is the Twins have dealt this to us for decades, and piranhas and all this. And at least I get it, but that's not really pertinent here. What's pertinent is one game. It doesn't matter that we've kicked their ass all season long. It doesn't matter that they're the worst team in baseball and we're the best. And I'm rubbing it in. I don't think it's even being rubbed in. He hit a goddamn home run. Did he do anything? He decided to jog. I think every major leaguer does that, except Nick Madrigal, who doesn't think he can hit home runs, so he sprints to second base, which was pretty funny, by the way, Nick. I mean, come on.
I was going to say, were any of the hits Yermín gave up in that blowout against Boston, were any of those on 3-0 counts? Does that make a difference at all? It really shouldn't, but maybe that was why there was no backlash for that. I have no idea, but if that's why, then that's a dumb unwritten rule, but at least I could be like, okay, that's at least the dumb rule that people are going off.
One wrinkle, but Joe, yeah, okay, I remember getting a little red-assed about the fact that, who the hell was it? I can't remember the guy's name. He's a guy up and down, a 4A player. Stole on Yermín. They're up, whatever they were on. Stole second base. Now, granted, I think the prior half inning, he made some bonehead play in left field where he let a double drop that he should have caught. And so maybe he was, point is, this guy's trying to make his way in the major leagues. Stealing off of a non-pitcher is an odd way to make his way in the major leagues, as opposed to clocking a home run because you have to bat when you're at bat. But I had people defending in more of a general forum, defending the fact, hey man, this guy's trying to scrape. He's trying to stick with Boston. Stealing off of a non-pitcher up, whatever it was, 6-8 runs. How is this any different? In fact, this would seem far more acceptable. Joe, you're right to point out, maybe one little wrinkle that makes this less acceptable is it's a 3-0 count. But as even Roy Smalley's saying, he could wait one more pitch to swing. What in the hell are we talking about? So then it would have been okay. At 3-1, it would have been all right for Roy Smalley, old schooler, to hit a ball 400 feet. For crying out loud. This is what we're talking about.
Yes, you are very right. I listened to the Twins broadcast, and that was one thing that I definitely did not understand, how it would have been acceptable for him to homer off that same pitch on 3-1, but not 3-0. Yeah, this is just a very strange constraint, and I really do not want to look through social media and see anyone defending the decision to throw at him. It was, yeah, definitely not something. I'm sure some people are going to take that opinion, but I definitely don't want to see that.
I think the good news is the Twins are so bad. I think even Twins diehards have to go like, what in the hell, really? I mean, I'm sure some guys are gonna be like, well, what do we got to lose? You know, who cares? Season's over.
Twins Ted he said something earlier. I don't even follow that kid. He just shows up in my feed so often that it's ridiculous. But he even said something earlier. He's like, I swear, if the Twins plunk Yermín tonight. And I was like, yes, thank you for actually like being smart about this. I mean, there's no excuse. And that's the whole thing. I said it in like the group Slack earlier. It's like, I feel like pulling the really good pitcher tonight is going to give them some kind of excuse to hit him without repercussions. I mean, he's not going to get suspended. He got pulled out of the game.
I guess to the ump's credit is it seems like immediately after that pitch went inside, not just the pitcher, but the manager were tossed. So I guess there was pretty much zero tolerance there. And we've seen really selective enforcement. That seems to, I guess I'm a White Sox fan, so it seems to work against the Sox more often than not. But maybe that's my inner Hawk Harrelson. And listen, I'll admit, years ago, now we're talking many years ago, as an old man here, certainly I was more old school. I used to see Albert Pujols, young Albert Pujols. He used to pimp the hell. And back when this whole notion of pimping, that didn't even exist like a decade ago. What guys do now, there's no stick talk. But Albert would hit one to the moon and he'd stare at it. And I'd be like, damn, what, you know, come, that's not how you play. So I'll even admit, listen, it's possible to change your mind on this stuff. You know, and look, you know, I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, what are you getting all agitated about, Brett? You're an idiot. You know, wake up. And if everybody else thinks it's okay, or most people think it's okay, then get with the program, man. Change your ways. It's not that hard. I know Tony, believe it or not, is far older than me, but really, this is your team. If there's one time to be an idiot homer, it's with your team, your rookie, who then comes on, I assume probably right after Tony. Tony talks first, comes on right after, said, I'm playing my game. And listen, Yermín he's maybe 110. Maybe he could probably even rein it in. I mean, this dude in 2020 spring training saying, see you soon, Chicago. The guy has got, you know, he's got some confidence. But the idea that you're going to end up even making your player coming in afterward look silly by comparison is a shame. I believe we have a new South Side Sox staff member joining in progress. I know he was itching to get on here. It's Anders Johanson is going to be jumping on, but we'll keep our discussion going as Anders hops on with us. Do we make anything? And listen, I brought this up and I think people would push back on me, but I brought up and I alluded to earlier in this, does the fact that when Anthony Rizzo strikes out Freddie Freeman and it's cute and it breaks, it just kills social media, and Cut 4 tweets out 1,000 angles of the strikeout and everybody thinks it's just adorable because it's the Cubbies. Well, those guys are white guys. Is the fact that Yermín is a Latin player and a confident Latin player. Apparently he's rubbed tons of people wrong, like Buck Showalter has been rubbed wrong by Yermín Mercedes. And welcome, Anders. We're in progress, so just jump in as you will. But how does this play into it? Does this play into it, or is this just dumbassery, period?
I don't know that race plays into it, but I think it's a whole Cubs are the lovable team in this. Like, I think that's just everyone just loves them. I think that's what it is. I mean, I could be completely off on that, but I just think it's all is forgiven when it's the Cubs and it's Freddie Freeman, who's just this amazing athlete, but it's bullshit no matter what.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree that has certainly something to do with it. It also may be that everyone is just cheering for the underdog to win in that situation where Rizzo, who obviously isn't the pitcher, is pitching to 2020's NL MVP, and he gets a very unexpected strikeout. Perhaps everyone was cheering for Astudillo to get the get a 1-2-3 inning, and then when Mercedes swings away on 3-0 and hits a home run, maybe that kind of, I don't know, left a sour taste in some people's mouths, but certainly should not have resulted in any sort of a controversy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, Anders, we have already dispensed with much of the profanity in the podcast, led by me, but welcome South Side Sox. Glad you jumped on with us. And because you came in a few minutes
Can you hear me?
late, yes, we can. You're good,
Okay,
looking good, sounding good.
Cool.
Eastern time zone in the house. Once again,
Yeah.
the goddamn central time zone cheeses out on me. This has been a recurring theme, Anders. You're hopping on late, but these two, the entirety of the Indianapolis field office for South Side Sox, Crystal and Joe, are always on with me whenever I make these calls. Central time zone just falls asleep. They got better things to do. So thanks for making it a 4 for 4 Eastern time zone, pushing 10:30 at night, for God's sake. And we're wrapping on this. Anders, you did not get a chance to say your piece because you're coming in late, but your just general thoughts on what the hell is transpiring, because we did call this emergency podcast to have to address the fact that Tony La Russa decided to chuck Yermín under the bus and enforce the unwritten rules.
Right, enforce, wink, wink, yeah, and unwritten, even more wink, wink. I think one of the most frustrating things for me is that this is happening to a rookie who's off to an incredible start to his season. He's, I don't know if he still is, but at one point he was leading all of baseball in batting average, just cranking home runs with minimal effort. Or at least we think it's minimal effort, but he looks like he's swinging out of his shoes every time. But why would you come out and throw this kid under the bus in the middle of the season that he's having? And you're just so willing to say, like, point the finger at him. He missed the sign. He was supposed to take the pitch 3-0. This is just, like, I hope it doesn't wreck his confidence, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is what happens. I mean, based on what he's done so far in the game tonight, or I literally just got off work, so I don't even know where the game is at. I don't know if it's over or anything, but I know he had at least one hit tonight. So he's at least still on track there. Just looking now, they're 4-2 in the top of the 8th.
Well, Anders, to catch you up, some Yahoo named Duffy threw first pitch threw at Yermín, was ejected, Baldelli ejected. So there was some old school enforcement of the whatever the hell rules. We don't know yet what the counter punch from Tony is, because Lord knows now his old school, he's being challenged old school. So what's he going to do? Is it going to be a fist fight in the tunnel underneath the stands? What twins are going to be hit? Is he going to just have a pitcher throw at Baldelli? Who knows? This is really, really exciting. And again, as up top pointed out, White Sox best team in baseball, and this is what we're discussing. And we don't have to, but yeah, we sort of do. It's reprehensible. It's sickening that this is something we have to be addressing, perhaps before it gets out of hand. I would love to know that somebody might rein Tony in, that Rick Hahn had the authority to say, Tony, let's do something different next time. But that ain't going to happen, because there's only one person Tony reports to. And Rick Hahn likes his job. You know, maybe to his detriment, he likes his job. He's not going to have anything to say to Tony La Russa.
Right. Well, I mean, we'd all like something to happen to Tony, but that's probably far from the reality. So as they say, success is the best revenge. Let's just keep winning and push those Twins further down in the standings. I think we'd all be happy with that.
Yeah. Anders, you made the point. It came up earlier as well, that we're talking about a rookie. We're talking about a guy who's been the light of the league. He's been the most exciting player on the team, and that's no small feat given how great this team has been this year and how many breakout stars, young or older, there have been. And you don't want him to hesitate. I don't think he's a pretty confident kid. I don't think it's going to really affect him, but just one time having a catch in his head, being put in this situation again in the future, you've now potentially thrown a little doubt into him. Why in the world are you going to do that? He's going to slump as it is. This could be his year. This could be his month. This could be his half of a season. We don't know that this guy's going to be Nelson Cruz.
Right, after 10 years in the minor leagues or whatever, and he's finally getting his shot, and now he's the nemesis, according to Tony La Russa.
For God's sake. Yeah, he's not playing Major League Baseball, Anders.
Right.
He's not playing Major League Baseball. Oh,
whatever that is anymore.
Sake.
I think that's the worst of all of it. When you think about how much he's been through just in his, career, think about how many opportunities he never was granted on other teams. I mean, he's been this insane success story. This team has been an insane success story. Like, you're first in the league, but yet you're sitting here taking all of the attention because you want to make some shitty old school comment and not care about your players or your team or the clubhouse. I think it's just ridiculous that he's sitting here taking all of their attention, this amazing team that should be in the spotlight, and he is just making a mockery out of the entire team because he can't just be present and with it and not some dinosaur manager.
All's well that ended well. A couple games ago when Yoan Moncada blew through a stop sign and was thrown out at home, White Sox ended up winning that game. And of course, Yoan Moncada is a veteran, but we didn't hear anything about breaking rules, missing signs then. And I understand those two are different players. But establishing a consistent standard, especially when Tony came in and said he was going to respect culture. Maybe he needed to leave it at Adam Eaton, now apparently likely guilty for lecturing in the dugout. We speculated, and apparently Adam maybe was smiling as he was talking. So people thought, well, maybe he was saying, great hit, Yermín. Right, that was going to happen. So apparently he did read him the riot act. Maybe it should have been just left at that. That's probably going over the line. Maybe Tony should have just said, it was handled internally. Our players had to talk with them, good and bad, done.
And that's really all you need to say. There's no reason to go any further and point fingers, especially at a young player. Like if you wanna rag on a veteran, someone who should know better, and say, hey, you missed this call. Maybe the Sox need to go over their signs again. Maybe people need to brush up on signs. I feel like a 3-0 take sign should be something that even a rookie would be able to get. So, I don't know.
And we've seen the video now, I think from the stands. I don't know if there were other angles. We've seen the video where La Russa is out of the dugout as Yermín is rounding the bases. He's out of the dugout gesturing and people are saying, well, maybe he's catching shit from Minnesota. I don't think so. It looks like he wants to jump down Yermín's throat before he even hits home plate. So it's not like something he thought about overnight. It's like, God, I really got to enforce this. It's going to get out of hand. Yermín might hit too many homers. No, he had the red ass seconds after he swung. Forget if it was a homer or not. Seconds after he swung.
Yeah, he was on the field, ready to go.
Yes.
You don't see that. You just don't see that happen.
I mean, we've been wondering, I think somebody somewhat cattily on site in the comments, or maybe it was in our Slack, suggested maybe a bat boy sit next to Tony and just poke him at proper times. That was probably Colleen or Crystal, I don't know, somebody. But this is the one time he's awake. This is the one time he jumps out. Tony, you could have just slept through the rest of the game. They won. Your team won. You could have taken your nap in the clubhouse and said, this is what you're on the field for. Not necessarily standing up for your team. This is what you're on the field for. For God's sake. Where's this gonna go? Help me, guys.
Let's go. No, I can't. I can't. I try so hard. Since the announcement that he was even hired, I have just continuously tried to find
We got no choice, Crystal. We do need to try.
Any good. I've tried to find
day
any
one.
good
I was unhappy.
and bringing him on. And I can't, I can't. And then he just does shit like this weekly, almost daily. And I can't rationalize this. I can't understand why there's anyone that is still defending him and claiming to be a Sox fan. I can't do it anymore.
And
there's too many mental gymnastics and I am tired.
And and the mental gymnastics is something that Tony clearly, I want to be ageist about it, but he clearly hasn't demonstrated a capacity for it. And here's another thing he blew. He said he missed the sign. And, people pointed out Tortuga was just chucking the ball. He had 3 seconds to get a sign. Yeah, you can still glance down. There's no excuse there. You can still glance down. You know what you need to say? Automatic for a rookie, automatic for Yermín, automatic for me on this team. Up 10, here's the rules here, keep them in your sleeve. Here's the rules. Up 3-0, up 3-0 count, up 10, automatic take. Why does he even get into the fact that there's a sign he's supposed to see? That's another way he could have saved himself. Now, it still would have been lame. People would have still been in an uproar, but that might have been even more legit. Hey, this is what we taught him in spring training. You don't do that. And you may disagree or not, but that's just the guideline I have as the manager. He's got to respect that. This idea that he need to look down, between, okay, well, what do I do? Guy hungry to hit, loves playing the game.
I'm just saying, my daughter plays softball. She is 8 years old. They beat their team on Saturday. They beat the other team on Saturday 25-0. There was no mercy rule. There was no, oh, we're up by 25. Let's just give these poor girls a break and let them hit. No, there was nothing. And they're not even getting paid. They're not professionally doing this. So I'm sorry that if you don't even expect an 8-year-old softball player to have all of these unwritten rules, then maybe you shouldn't expect a major league baseball player to also follow your dumb rules.
Crystal, don't try to con us here. Your daughter is paid in orange slices and in post-game pizza. Now let's be honest. But
We
okay,
got-
As it should be.
well, yes,
We got
point taken.
Airheads today.
Point taken. And listen, no offense to your daughter, but until she wins a Little League World Series game 55-1, like one of us in this chat did, maybe you've heard me brag about it before.
Ooh,
I'll
humble
just
brag,
shut
humble
up.
brag.
I'll just shut up. But no, seriously, for God's sake. Wait. Joe, talk to me.
It is certainly just a very weird constraint. That's a very good point about how these little league softball teams aren't going to have these strange ways of expressing good sportsmanship. I don't understand how why Major League Baseball players would have to be held to these kinds of weird standards when they're competing for money, and especially for Mercedes with his situation, not only being in arbitration, but having been in the minors year after year after year, and only now getting a chance due to essentially the injury to Eloy Jimenez. And it's a frustrating situation for sure. And the White Sox most likely at the end of tonight will be 26-15, and that makes me happy. It is just so strange that there's this much baggage coming from their manager, despite such a great first quarter of the season.
Okay, last thought as we were winding down, and Zoom is going to yell at us soon. At this point, there's some real practical reasons. We talk about the mockery of the game being made by position players, and clearly position players pitching is a thing. It was cute, starting to get a little tiresome now as a strange bullpen saving measure. At what point, and this is a serious point, I mean, we already got the runner on second in extra innings rule, which is bullshit. Why in the world can't we just forfeit games? Can't Rocco say at some point, I'm going to pull my team off the field? Because if you're going to try to enforce this nonsense, essentially what you're saying is I should be able to quit. The White Sox should selectively quit, or the Twins should be able to leave the field. I understand that's a mockery of the game, but we're already sort of pushing it, pandemic rules or not. We're already sort of pushing that. Should Rocco just be able to say, all right, guys, yeah, hey, listen, we're down, it's late, we're done.
Maybe. I mean, they did that pretty much in spring training, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Ground
do that
rules
in the middle of an inning.
Yeah.
They'd be like, all right, we're my pitcher's throwing enough pitches
Right.
this inning. We'll go to the next half inning.
Right. Can't we have some understanding ground rules saying, okay, listen, I may pull my team off. We're really stretched thin. And I know that's not gamesmanship. That's certainly not old school, but it's a logical extension of these arguments being made, for God's sake.
We do that in Little League. It's a 5-run rule every inning. Saw it quite a bit.
It just gets your daughter her orange slices quicker and her post-game pizza slick quicker. Come on. She's hungry. That's a lot of running around the bases. Come on.
I mean, to your point, I'm surprised we're even letting position players pitch anymore. I know there's the Twitter account position players pitching or whatever. So, I mean, there's an entertaining aspect to it, but if you want to talk about like the integrity of the game and the respect of the game, I feel like that should not even be a thing anymore. So moving forward, I'd like to see some more enforcement of some type of qualification for being a pitcher. Maybe throwing harder than 49 miles per hour should be one of them. And I thought there was like a big deal made about Shohei Ohtani being declared a pitcher like last year, and Major League Baseball was like, well, if he's supposed to be a pitcher, he's got to be a full-time only a pitcher for an entire season or something like that. I'd correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember something about Ohtani, and baseball wasn't happy about it.
Yeah,
But there should be more of a more of something at least enforced for these people to come in as a pitcher.
If we're going to keep doing it, let's just not get bunchy underwear over it. Let's just throw the rules out, because clearly you're throwing the rules out by making the guy a pitcher. So let's just stop calling him, he's not a pitcher. So let's protect him. The guy doesn't need depends, for God's sake. Just let him pitch. If he gets rocked, he gets rocked, for God's sake. All right. This podcast, at times profane, at times insightful, always entertaining. You guys know it. Come on, you're listening. You might be watching. You know this was a lot of fun. Okay, emergency podcast is coming to a close. Crystal and Joe in the Indianapolis field office, thank you again for jumping on. Anders, welcome to the team. Thank you for making the late
thank you. Happy to be here, reporting live from Charlotte.
Here. Yeah, sweet. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff with you in days to come. Thanks everybody for reading, watching. Obviously, all the comments are very fray right now, including Billy OK is back, and he's bringing the fire. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll get this up here as soon as possible as the breaking news happens, and who knows, maybe 6 other people have been hitting the game as we've been talking. Thanks everybody for listening.